my face. Like, what's wrong? She's like, you're going to be living in sin. Like, this guy's going to use you up. He's going to test to see how it is to live with someone. He's going to learn everything he needs to do. And then he's like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm out of here. And then he's going to be ready for his next woman who he's going to marry. And he already knew what he needed to learn from you. She's like, but that's what, that makes me happy. She's like, don't you want me to be happy? She's like, not like this. This is not going to be good for you. Living in sin. Your dad would be pissed off too, so don't be saying dad wanted you to be happy. This is fucking wrong. Like, give me my cake and, like, boom, she's out.
That's some old school shit, man.
Yeah, as I'm telling you, it's like old school shit. Today, parents be like, okay, you sure? I don't know. And today, like, we're going to do it. It's just, it's a different time, Like, we talked about it. Like, we kind of grew up with it, but by then it was already, like, nobody thinks like that. Now it's just completely, like, it's obsolete, dude. Like, Mark Hardy broken, delete. It's like no one thinks about that shit no more, right? And it's just like, oh, okay, let's do it. It makes me happy. It makes us happy. Let's fucking do it.
I don't know if it's increased in quantity, like the amount of people that live together before they're married, or it's more
they're having babies before they're married,
or it's more like they're upfront about it now, because back in the day, it happened. I mean, just like that lady alluded to, it's like,
but it was like
people do it,
persona non grata. Like, no one talked about it.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Throw it in everybody did it. It's just we don't want to know about it.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Is that maybe the amount was still the same. That there was still the same amount of people living together back then as it is today. But maybe back then, just people didn't talk about it.
You'll see our article that we're going to talk about, like how it's a big difference. A lot of it today's. I was listening to another, real quick, how millennials, like, I was listening to Joe Rogan. He has this guy, Don Pena, and he was saying he's a financial guy, and he was talking about millennials and how they're fucking up. And he said I was driving up here, and I was listening, like, man, this guy is fucking, he makes sense to me. He's like, I'm a man, I'm an alpha male, this guy I teach, he's an alpha male.
Does he lift those cowbells or what are those?
No, dude, this guy's like old. He's like in his 60s and he's like rich. And he's talking about how today the millennials are like, they read they're fucking smart as fuck, but they don't do shit. They overanalyze everything. He goes, paralysis of analysis or something.
That sounds cool.
They know everything, but they don't do shit. They're just there like, when we were growing up, we did everything. I was a man. He's like, you know how I
Why do you think they don't do it?
Because they think they know everything. And he goes, when I didn't do anything, or I didn't listen, my dad beat the shit out of me. That's made me to the man I am now. Nobody gets hit no more. I mean, it's a part of it, it's kind of archaic, but yeah. But there is some truth into that. And then they go into... He's like, the millennials, they have this fucking... He goes, it's free money. To get a loan, it's like at 2%. That's fucking ridiculous, dude. That's fucking basically free money. How can you not make money? Millennials, start a business when you get an interest rate of 2% in today's fucking world. Like, it's fucking crazy and not be successful. It's free fucking money. They're going to look back at this decade, at this age, and be like, man, we fucked up. We left all this money on the table. Because, he goes... It's just the way they think. They don't do shit. They just read everything. They know everything, but they don't do shit.
Yeah. That sounds kind of fascinating, man. It makes sense to a certain extent. But I don't know. I like to educate myself as well before I make big decisions.
Who doesn't? But there goes to a point where you read so much. All there's left is there to do. He said there was a guy he was talking to about self... what did he call it? Like, he read all these books to better himself, be a better businessman. And he goes, well, what the fuck have you done? Well, nothing. Then you ain't shit. He basically told him, you haven't done shit, but you know all this stuff, and you're like, what, you're 35, 36? It's like, yeah, you're just a pussy. Like, you're afraid to fail. Like, everyone's gonna fucking fail. Like, just fucking do it. And he goes, it's just these kids, like, he goes, literally, they're going to look back at this time, especially business millennials, and they're going to literally be like, man, we fucked this up, and they're going to put, he goes, literally, like, don't do it. He goes, they're going to stick a gun in their mouth and blow their head up because they fucked up on how much money they could have made in this time.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how much money they could have made, but I do kind of agree. Sometimes knowing too much kind of prevents you from moving forward. And I did see something a few days ago, like something on YouTube while I was surfing, and it was something like motivation. He's just like, motivation is crap. It doesn't exist, or it doesn't work right. He's just like, nothing in life that's worth having, you can motivate yourself to it. It's like, it's almost like you have to turn off your internal mechanism to stop you from trying to do it, because everything is a risk. It's a risk, right. And your body does not naturally want to take risks. It does not naturally want to jump, to from building to building, because it automatically knows there's a chance I'm going to fall. There's a chance I'm going to kill myself. I can't make this jump. So your body automatically starts working to create a panic in your system, to make it where you're sweating, you're nervous, and it makes you want to take a step back and say, like, let me not do this.
It's always the human psyche, as I know it, and I've experienced. You're always going to find reasons. When you really don't want to do something, you're going to find every reason not to do it.
Exactly.
You just fucking say, fuck it, I'm going to do it. And you just take that leap of faith, or you fucking do it.
Exactly.
But we always going to find reasons not to do anything.
For sure.
Like, getting back to the amendment about marriage, it's the article that we're talking about is it's just the way we grew up. Like, I'm taking my classes for my Catholicism, to get my first communion. One of the big things the church pushes is there's two things they really hate. They hate abortions, and they hate people who live together. I don't want to say hate, it's a strong word, but they really, really disagree with that. They know that they look at the family units, mom, father, kids. That is the foundation, a pillar of the church that cannot be shaken. You cannot give. They're not going to give in to that. I mean, if they do, it'd be interesting. But they look at it as like, that's a solid foundation. And the way society is now, a lot of people live together before they get married. They're having kids before they're married. So today it's like kind of like just normal. And the article we're talking about is called "Young Americans Are Killing Marriage" because, a lot of them, they wait now to get married. They live with their parents and they're not moving out. So the more than half of 25 to 35-year-olds are single. In 1980, more than 2/3 were married. Like, just at that fucking number. You understand that? Like, that's fucking crazy. So it's like they're not even getting married.
So it's like flip-flop.
Yeah, completely flip-flop.
Yeah, back in the day, people got married more, and there weren't that many single.
So, yeah, between 25 and 34-year-olds in 1980, it was just under 70% were married. Today, millennials, in 2015, when they did the survey, it's just literally under 40%.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big fucking gap.
Yeah, man.
And then between 25 and 34 in 1980, around 11% were separated. Millennials, it's just under 9%. And then
and that would make sense because less people are getting married, so less percentage.
Well, now get this: baby boomers, again, from 25 to 30-year-olds in 1980, just under 20% were never married. In 2015, it's or just over 50%. It's like 51%.
Wow, man,
that's a big number.
Yeah, and to be honest, man, I only know this generation. I don't know past generations, but I do know a lot of single men and single friends that have not gotten married, or maybe did kind of try it but are separated now. So I do know that there's a big percentage of not a big percentage of my friends, but there's a few friends that I know that are single and not married.
So there they go. Baby boomers' eagerness to get married meant they were far likely than today's young people to live on their own. Anderson looked at the share of each generation living independently, either as heads of their own household or married couples. So going back to baby boomers in 1980, he goes 81% of baby boomers were living on their own. So they weren't married. They were just living on their own. Millennials, it's under 60%. There's a 20% difference gap. And then in 1980, they were living with their parents or grandparents. Baby boomers was 9%, and the millennials is around 21%. So that is it's another big number that we always read about. So this is but the big thing where they excel at is the education.
They're no dummies.
They ain't no dummies. They sure read a lot, but they're book smart. And look at this.
Street smart. Is that what you're alluding to, man?
Exactly. So in right now, the millennials at this age, 25 to 34, they had about, 20, just under 25% had a bachelor's. Millennials were pushing over almost 40% have a bachelor's. So, I mean, that's a big fucking gap. But we did outbeat them by having a high school diploma,
In some college?
No, actually, millennials beat us on some college.
Oh, shit, man.
See, but they did point out there's no sign that young people today are lazier than three decades ago. In 1980, 74% of baby boomers reported they had worked in the past week. In 2015, slightly more millennials, 77% said they had been to work in the past week.
But working, do they mean like hugging trees?
Another one for millennials. I think they might mean they were driving Uber or some shit.
Yeah, like they went out and hugged the tree.
So they're kind of saying maybe they did it because they were...
planted a flower.
They were... they can't afford to live on their own. I don't fucking know. But I know a lot of these kids today, they're not down with marriage. They look at it as something that's demeaning, especially with the gender stuff now. Who knows? I guess no one really looks forward to getting married.
Yeah, man, stop identifying me. I don't like to have labels on me, man. I just like to be a human being.
Well, I think that's one of the reasons this generation hates
old people like you, Andy.
Like old men who know what the hell they want. They just look at you like, oh, you're a fucking... Sorry, you're a bully. Now you're like...
You're misogynist.
You know, the other day I was talking to my mom. She said my dad was a machista. And I'm like, what? Like, I was kind of shocked to hear that. Like, I think my dad, he had his issues. Yeah, he was an alcoholic. But he always knew what the fuck he wanted, and he didn't hesitate to say what he wanted. And today, these kids, a lot of them, they just dance around it. They're not big on confrontation. So, that's my thing. And I don't know if that's the right term for my dad, But... I don't know. Sometimes you just got to spit out, say what you want. But millennials they're different, man. They don't really get upset. They just like express stuff and how they don't they disagree, whatever you're feeling, and it's just weird.
Well, I don't know. To me, like misogynistic means more like you don't let your wife wear what she wants to wear. Like you dictate.
That was never like that.
That to me is more like that, or her ability to be able to speak to other men freely without worrying about what her husband would say.
Well, that's just inappropriate.
And I think it's I think that is more misogynistic, stuff like that. I think that's what women back in the day, them old school women, would perceive that to be. Like could you even imagine your mom? And if your dad were still married, her having a Facebook, and your dad would be cool with that, her socializing with other people.
I don't think my dad, he would understand what the fuck. He barely understood Netflix.
Or 1080p, man.
He'll be like, I don't know. But like, if my mom would have gotten a letter, I think he'd been pissed off, yeah. Who the fuck's writing you?
Yeah.
You see that? Like something like that. It's a different time. I give millennials a hard time. Yeah, they do a lot of good shit, but it's a complete 180 from what we are now. And them kids are just, when you see them like protesting and like crying on the streets, it's like, what the fuck is wrong with you guys, man? It's just the way shit is. And like, move on. Like, you can make a change like with the president and like when you see like them crying and like, I don't know. And then they're just like posting stuff, everything they post on social networks, which is cool. But I mean, sometimes it's just too much. I don't know. Nothing's really private. I also read somewhere that like to them, nothing's really private. It's just out there. You either like it or you don't. You know.